Golden State Media Concepts Fantasy Football Podcast is your one-stop shop for fantasy football news and advice. Can't decide on who to draft on the first round? Going gaga on how to line up your team. Got you covered. Traditional leagues, Dynasty League, PPR League, IDP League, even Daily Fantasy Football League. Join us as we break down all the questions of fantasy football. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Fantasy Football Podcast.
Welcome to the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. And as always, I'm your host, Jesse Tapia. All right, so for today's show, it's playoff time finally. Everyone, at least for most leagues, I know some leagues, this is their last week of their regular season, but for the majority of leagues, this is when playoffs are starting this week. Right now, in one of my leagues, I've got my first week of playoffs this week. Got to win that one, and then I got another league too. I'm already clinched for playoffs. We got one more week in the regular season, so I'm excited for that league too because I got a really good team. I think I got a good shot at winning that league also right there. You know what? I got a good shot at winning both leagues. I'm really good at fantasy football. I'm gonna say that right there. I'm not even gonna be modest about it. But let's see. All right, so for the first segment, we're gonna pretty much do winners and losers from last week, which was week 13. You know, we gotta stay consistent. We gotta have a sense of stability, you know, with the show. That way, we always have good shows, you know. But Browns can't seem to figure it out. For those that don't know, I know this isn't really fantasy football news, but I'm just throwing it out there. For those that don't know, the Browns fired their GM, Sashi Brown. So I mean, Browns are gonna Brown, right? Most dysfunctional franchise of all time, I bet. But let's do some winners and losers. Let's get into it right now. All right. So we'll start off from the Thursday night game from last week. We'll go start off with Washington, all right? So we got, this game was between Washington and Dallas, by the way. But we got a winner from Washington, Kirk Cousins, 251 yards, 2 touchdowns, did have 2 picks, but not too bad. Loser, any running back that you had from Washington, Samaje Perine had 12 carries, 38 yards, and I think it was Byron Marshall had 4 carries for 12 yards. Winner, Ryan Grant, 5 receptions, 76 yards, 1 touchdown. Loser, Jamison Crowder, 5 receptions, 67 yards. Let's see. Might even consider Josh Dotson a winner. He didn't do enough to be a winner. He's not a loser, but he's not considered a winner. Dak Prescott, not going to consider him a winner. I mean, he did throw 2 touchdowns, but he barely even broke 100 yards. Big winner right here. Alfred Morris, 27 carries, 127 yards, 1 touchdown. Let's see. Dez Bryant, also a winner. Finally stepped up. 5 receptions, 61 yards, 1 touchdown. And pretty much anyone else on the Dallas receiving end was a loser. Let's go Minnesota. This one's going to be fun right here. I always like talking about Atlanta. So let's go. All right, we're going to start off with Minnesota. Happy thoughts. All right, so Case Keenum, winner. 227 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no picks. Latavius Murray, loser. 16 carries, 76 yards. Jerick McKinnon. Can we consider Jerick McKinnon a winner? He did have 24 yards on the ground. Also had 28 yards receiving, 5 receptions, and had a touchdown. I'm going to consider Jerick McKinnon a winner, all right? Let's see, Kyle Rudolph, winner, 4 catches, 36 yards and a touchdown. Tough for tight ends to do because tight ends really so far this year in fantasy football haven't really produced all too much besides a select few. Adam Thielen, loser, 4 receptions, 51 yards. And Stephon Diggs, loser also. 2 receptions for 32 yards. Let's head over to Atlanta. This is the fun part right here. Loser, Matt Ryan, 173 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions. Loser, Devontae Freeman, 12 carries, 74 yards. Loser, Tevin Coleman, 8 carries, 22 yards. Mohamed Sanu, loser, 3 receptions, 43 yards. Best one right here. Julio Jones, big loser, 2 receptions, 24 yards. Way to let me down last week. I mean, I still pulled out the win, but come on, Julio, pick it up. Let's head over to Denver. All right, so I'm not even going to talk about Trevor Siemian because if you got him on your fantasy football team, you're probably in last place. C.J. Anderson, loser, 15 carries, 67 yards. That's a loser right there. Actually, you know, I'm going to consider C.J. I'm not going to consider him a winner or loser. He did break 100 yards total, but, I mean, 10 points is not great. Demarius Thomas, 2 receptions, 27 yards. Emmanuel Sanders, loser, 2 receptions, 11 yards. Everyone else, pretty much everyone on that offense besides C.J. Anderson, I guess you can consider a loser. Let's see. Jay Cutler, nor a loser, nor a winner. He had 235 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Kenyon Drake, winner, 23 carries, 120 yards, 1 touchdown. Kenny Stills, winner, 5 receptions, 98 yards, touchdown. Jarvis Landry, loser, 5 receptions for 62 yards. And Devontae Parker, loser, 1 catch, 5 yards. That guy's been brutal so far this season. I think Miami should let go of him after this year. Guys, pretty much, they've been waiting for him to be something good, and he's pretty much just been the disappointment every year. All right, over in Detroit. Matt Stafford, neither a winner nor a loser. Didn't throw enough touchdowns. Didn't throw enough interceptions. Theo Riddick, let's see. I'm going to call him a winner, right? He had 62 yards total, 5 receptions, but also did have a touchdown. Marvin Jones, not a winner nor a loser. I mean, he had 90 yards, but no touchdowns. Pretty much no winners from the Detroit receiving end. I guess you can consider Golden Tate, unless if you have him PPR, I guess that's pretty good decent from him. But if it's just not PPR, then that's a loser right there. Only 8 receptions for 69 yards. Let's head over to Baltimore. If you were brave enough to start Joe Flacco, that's a winner right there. 269 yards, 2 touchdowns. Alex Collins, winner, 15 carries, 75 yards, 2 touchdowns. Mike Wallace, winner, 5 receptions, 116 yards. Loser, Jeremy Maclin, 4 receptions, 41 yards. And anyone else you have on that from the Ravens on your team? I mean, not good, not good. Head over to Buffalo. They faced off with the Patriots this week. We have, let's see, New England. Any winners right there? Pulling it up. We got Tom Brady. Tom Brady, loser. 258 yards, no touchdown, 1 interception. Man, that felt so good to say. Anytime you could take a shot at Tom Brady, I mean, it's always good, you know? But yeah, loser. He only had 258 yards, didn't throw a touchdown. Like I said, he had a pick. Deion Lewis, neither winner nor loser. I mean, he had 92 yards rushing. That's a good regular game right there. But, I mean, it's not bad enough to considered a loser in fantasy, I guess. But Rex Burkhead, 12 carries, 78 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's a winner right there. Rob Gronkowski, winner, 9 receptions, 147 yards. Brandon Cooks, loser, 2 receptions for 17 yards. Danny Amendola, loser, 2 receptions, 34 yards. Let's head over to Buffalo. Tyrod Taylor, loser, 9 of 18, 65 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception, left the game injured also. LaShawn McCoy, let's see, did he do anything? I mean, he didn't do enough. Not a winner nor a loser. And pretty much any Buffalo receiver that you got on your team was a loser. So if you got a Buffalo receiver, yeah, I'm calling him a loser. Let's see. Let's head over to San Francisco and Chicago. We got Jimmy G. If you were brave enough to start him, loser. 293 yards, no touchdown, 1 interception. Loser. Carlos Hyde, 17 carries, 54 yards. No winners or losers from the receiving end either. Marquise Goodwin, 8 receptions. I'm going to call Marquise Goodwin a winner. If you got him in PPR, you were a happy man. That's 8 receptions, 99 yards. And Trent Taylor had a solid game. If you somehow started him, that's 6 receptions, 92 yards right there. Anyone else, not notable. Let's go loser. Mitch Trubisky, 102 yards, 1 touchdown. Loser, Jordan Howard, 13 carries, 38 yards. And pretty much anyone else on that offense, loser. Not even going to go through the name. There's no point. Let's go Tampa Bay versus the Bucks. We got Jameis Winston, winner, 270 yards, 2 touchdowns. Did have a fumble, but I feel like the 270 yards and 2 touchdowns outweigh that 1 fumble. Let's see, Peyton Barber, winner, 23 carries, 102 yards, 4 receptions, 41 yards. Cameron Bray, winner, barely. 2 receptions, 39 yards, 2 touchdowns. Very efficient. Mike Evans, loser, 2 catches, 33 yards. Sean Jackson, loser, 2 catches, 24 yards. Heading over to Green Bay. Let's see what they did. We got Brett Hundley, big loser, 84 yards, 1 interception. I could probably top those numbers right there. Jamal Williams, winner, 113 yards, 1 touchdown. Also had 10 yards receiving, so about 123 yards total, 1 touchdown. That's what? Jesse's good at math, about 18 points right there. Let's head over to the receiving end. Loser, Devontae Adams, 4 catches, 42 yards. Loser, Jordy Nelson. Man, this guy's been brutal. 5 receptions, 17 yards. Heading over to next game, Indianapolis and Jacksonville. We got Jacoby Brissett, loser, 174 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Loser, Frank Gore, 13 carries, 61 yards. Loser, T.Y. Hilton, you got a touchdown. You're saved. Dante Moncrief, loser, 5 catches, 37 yards. And Jack Doyle, loser, 3 catches, 16 yards. That one hurt right there. I had him playing this week. Let's see, in Jacksonville, we got Blake Bortles. Look at the winner right there. 309 yards, 2 touchdowns. Leonard Fournette, not a winner nor a loser. Didn't do enough. Marquise Lee, winner, 7 catches, 86 yards, 1 touchdown. D.D. Westbrook, I might have to pick him up. He had 6 receptions for 78 yards. Not a winner nor a loser, but, I mean, it's an interesting play right there. Let's head over to next game. We got Kansas City versus the Jets. Let's see. Alex Smith, winner. 366 yards, 4 touchdowns. Also had a rush for 70 yards right there. A loser, Kareem Hunt. This guy's been brutal these last few weeks, man. Brutal. 9 carries, 40 yards. Didn't do anything. Tyreek Hill, 6 receptions, winner. 185 yards, 2 touchdowns. Travis Kelce, also a winner. 4 catches, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns. As for the Jets, the Flying McCowns. Josh McCown, winner, 331 yards, 1 touchdown. Matt Forte, loser, 15 carries, 58 yards. Bilal Powell, neither winner nor loser. He did have a touchdown, but also had 48 yards. Javon Curse, 9 receptions, 157 yards. Winner right there. Robbie Anderson, another winner right there. 8 catches, 107 yards. Ooh, Matt Forte, I was wrong about you. You did have 71 total yards and a touchdown. That's 13 points. That's a winner right there. I apologize, but loser, Austin Safarian Jenkins. 2 catches, 7 yards. Brutal. Head over to Houston and Tennessee. Let's see, winners and losers right here. We got Tom Savage. Neither winner nor loser. Did have 365 yards, but also threw a pick and a touchdown. Lamar Miller. Let's see, did you score any touchdowns, Lamar Miller? You did not. So neither a winner nor a loser for you. He did have around 90 total yards. So DeAndre Hopkins, if you got him in a PPR league, that's a winner right there. 8 receptions, 80 yards. And pretty much no one else did anything notable for Houston. Let's head over to Tennessee. Marcus Mariota, loser. I can't stand this guy in fantasy football. 150 yards, 1 touchdown. Derrick Henry, winner. 11 carries, 109 yards, 1 touchdown. Loser, DeMarco Murray. Stop starting him. He's done. 11 carries, 66 yards. Delaney Walker, winner. 5 receptions, 63 yards, touchdown. Eric Decker, loser. 3 receptions for 27 yards. Next game. Cleveland versus the Chargers. We got Deshaun Kaiser. Let's see. I'm going to consider him not a winner nor a loser. I don't know. He had 215 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Also got 4 points on the ground with 46 yards rushing. I'm going to consider that a winner. I'm a nice guy today. Isaiah Crowell, loser, 10 carries, 41 yards, no touchdowns. Josh Gordon, I'm going to consider him a winner because if you started him, you got what you wanted. He had 4 receptions for 85 yards, so good from him. And Njoku, I got to figure out this guy's first name. What is it? Let me see if I can pull it up right here. We're waiting. All right, David. The guy's name's David. Are you serious? All right, David Njoku. 4 receptions, 74 yards, 1 touchdown, winner right there. Phillip Rivers, I'm going to consider him a winner. He had enough yards. 344 yards and a touchdown. Melvin Gordon, loser. Only 77 yards rushing. Keenan Allen, winner. 10 receptions, 105 yards, 1 touchdown. Hunter Henry, winner. 7 receptions, 81 yards. Let's see. Next game, Carolina and New Orleans. We got Cam Newton, winner, 183 yards throwing the ball, 51 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns right there, throwing the ball. Jonathan Stewart, neither winner nor loser. Let's see, Christian McCaffrey, neither winner nor loser. They scored a touchdown, did enough. Let's see, Devin Funchess, 4 receptions, 60 yards, and a touchdown. That's a winner right there if you got him in a PPR league. But Ed Dixon, 2 receptions, 18 yards, loser right there. Let's head over to New Orleans. Let's see what they did. We got Drew Brees, not a winner or a loser. 269 yards, 1 touchdown, not enough. Winner Mark Ingram, 14 carries, 85 yards and a touchdown. Kamara, 9 carries, 60 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's a winner right there. Also, he had 5 receptions, 66 yards in the air too. Michael Thomas, winner, finally had a touchdown after a 7-game streak I think it was. 5 receptions, 70 yards, 1 touchdown. And Ted Ginn, that's a loser right there. 2 catches, 27 yards. Heading over to not St. Louis, this is between the LA Rams and Arizona Cardinals. Jared Goff, neither winner nor loser, only 220 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Todd Gurley, winner, 74 yards on the ground, 84 yards throughout the air. Cooper Kupp, loser, 5 receptions for 68 yards. Sammy Watkins, not a loser or winner, got saved by a touchdown. There's really no one else you should have on your fantasy team from there. So, I mean, loser Blaine Gabbert. If you were streaming a quarterback, thought he'd do well, you made a bad mistake. 221 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Larry Fitzgerald, winner, 10 receptions, 98 yards, 1 touchdown. Ricky Seals-Jones, loser, 2 receptions, 44 yards. Let's see, next game. Raiders and the Giants. We got Geno Smith, not a winner nor a loser. pretty much not even going to bring him up, actually. You shouldn't even have him on your fantasy team. Orleans Darkwood, neither a winner nor a loser, had 32 yards, also had a touchdown, though, so that saved him right there. Evan Ingram, winner, 7 receptions, 99 yards, and a touchdown. And Sterling Shepard, loser, 3 receptions, 56 yards. Not good enough from him. Derek Carr, neither winner nor a loser, only 287 yards and a touchdown. Marshawn Lynch, winner, 101 yards, rushing, 1 touchdown. Let's see, Cordell Patterson. If you started him like a streaming option, that's a winner right there. I'll give that to you. 4 receptions, 97 yards. Jared Cook, 1 reception, 9 yards, loser. Let's go head over to Philly and Seattle. We got, let's see, this is going to be a weird one right here. We got Carson Wentz, loser, 348 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. J.J., loser, 9 carries, 35 yards. LeGarrette Blount, loser, 8 carries, 26 yards. Nelson Aguilar, winner, 7 receptions, 141 yards, 1 touchdown. Alshon Jeffrey got that shiny new contract, but a loser, 4 receptions, 61 yards. Again, I'm not calling these guys actual losers. I'm just talking about their fantasy points. Russell Wilson, 227 yards, 3 touchdowns. Also had 31 yards on the ground. Loser, any Seattle running back. Winner, Doug Baldwin, I guess, 5 receptions, 84 yards. Jimmy Graham, neither a winner nor a loser. Guys is out there just getting touchdowns. 3 receptions, 26 yards, and a touchdown. Let's see right here. Last game of the night. Last game of the weekend, actually. We got Pittsburgh heading into Cincinnati. Ben Roethlisberger, winner, 990 yards, 2 touchdowns. Did have a pick, but doesn't matter. Le'Veon Bell, winner, 76 yards rushing, 106 yards receiving, 5 receptions, 1 touchdown. Antonio Brown, winner, 8 receptions, 101 yards, 1 touchdown. Martavius Bryant, loser, 4 receptions, 40 yards. Juju Smith-Schuster, loser, 4 receptions, 17 yards. As for Cincinnati, you have Andy Dalton, winner, 234 yards, 2 touchdowns. Loser, Joe Mixon, 7 carries, 34 yards. AJ Green, winner, 7 receptions, 77 yards, and 2 touchdowns. As for Brandon LaFell, you have a loser right there. 4 receptions, 55 yards, and Tyler Kroft, loser, 2 receptions, 30 yards. So that's going to round it out for winners and losers this week. I love doing winners and losers because I just pretty much get to decide who do I think is a winner, who do I think is a loser. But for this next segment, we're going to talk about the Atlanta Falcons and New Orleans Saints Thursday night football game and talk about what can go well in fantasy and what couldn't go well for the players in this game. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. If you missed that last segment, we pretty much did what we always do for each fantasy football show. We did our winners and losers for the week that was played. This past week was week 13, and we did a lot of winners and we did a lot of losers, so it was fun throughout. But for this segment, let's talk some Thursday night football. All right, so we got the New Orleans Saints heading into Atlanta, facing off with the Atlanta Falcons in that brand new stadium they got. Again, I was talking on the sports podcast actually yesterday. I think it was. Yeah, I was talking on the sports podcast, talking about how they got a Chick-fil-A in that stadium. Man, I mean, that's one of the best things ever. I mean, a Chick-fil-A in a stadium. Like, imagine you're like, oh man, I'm watching the Falcons. I'm really hungry. I want a chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A. Let me go head over to the vendor and get a chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A. It just seems like the greatest thing ever. I mean, I wish the King Stadium over here in Sacramento had a Chick-fil-A. I mean, that'd be perfect. I'd be over there all the time, but they don't. So. But getting back to the game, we got a lot of fantasy implications here right now, okay? It's playoff time. This is a big time right here. For those of you playing for bragging rights, I mean, you got to win. For those of you playing in your money league, you're trying to make your money back and win some more. So it's going to be tough. I mean, I'm in 2 money leagues right now, and And I'm just hoping I win those two right there. But for this game, it's going to be kind of interesting, okay? Because both teams have, both teams can play well against each other and still have their respective, let's say, I don't know, this game's kind of tough to talk about with fantasy. Let's start off with Atlanta, all right? Yeah, let's just go to Atlanta, okay? So you got Atlanta. They're playing on Thursday night, and so far this season, they've been really inconsistent. I mean, starting an Atlanta Falcons player has pretty much been like Russian roulette. You're not really sure what you're going to get from him, okay? So like me, I got Julio Jones in one of my leagues, and one day he'll go out and drop 20 points for me, and the next he'll only give me about 3 points, and I think this was actually 2 points, and that was this past week also. But what was I going back to my point? Yeah, it's just pretty difficult to decide when to start an Atlanta Falcons player. I wouldn't start Devontae Freeman tonight against the Saints, and neither Tevin Coleman. I mean, you really can't trust Steve Sarkisian, the offensive coordinator, to give them enough touches to where they can even do something in fantasy. I mean, like I said, they really get no more than 20 touches combined as far as carrying the ball goes. So, I mean, it's kind of risky. I mean, one of those touches might end up for a touchdown, but do you really want to take that risk in playoffs? I mean, I would, and I know that for sure. So, I mean, it's really up to you on what you decide, whether those guys. But, I mean, personally, me talking, I wouldn't start either of them, those running backs. I mean, Julio Jones, pretty much, if you got Julio Jones on your team, that's probably your best receiver. And he's pretty much a must-start every week. So, I mean, you really have no choice with Julio. You pretty much got to start him, like I was saying, and pretty much hope for the best. I mean, I think Marshawn Lattimore is going to be starting today at cornerback again. He's been injured the last couple of weeks, but if he starts today, I don't really think Julio is going to be able to do much. I mean, the guy's just really too inconsistent. And Atlanta right now isn't playing like a good team or anything like that. I mean, they got a lot of talent on that offensive end, but like I said, they just really... You really can't trust him right now. And then the same with Matt Ryan. I mean, you never really know when the guy's going to go out and throw for 2 TDs and 300 yards. I mean, just this past week, he had 174 yards and no touchdowns. Obviously, he didn't throw any interceptions, so that was good. But, I mean, you really just can't trust the guy, you know? So it's going to be interesting to see. But, I mean, just staying with the Falcons, I want to talk about them for a little bit. I mean, I know we're a fantasy football podcast, but, I mean, just talking about them, like, even without fantasy, it's just this team, you can't really trust them to put up big numbers on offense. And, it's really, yeah, it's just that's all it is. You just can't trust them to do well. I mean, like I said, Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman don't get enough touches. Julio Jones only shows up when he wants to, it seems like, week after week. So it's pretty much either one week you're going to get good Julio and the other week you're going to get bad Julio. So you really can't decide on that. And then, like I said, with Matt Ryan, I mean, Atlanta so far, I mean, they're 7-5 right now. Like I said, I was talking about it on the last sports podcast, I think it was, yesterday. And I was talking about how the Falcons, they're hurting from a Super Bowl hangover, and they didn't even win the Super Bowl. So, I mean, they really need to figure it out. But as for the Saints, I mean, they got a bunch of good fantasy options right there. I mean, you can't go wrong starting Alvin Kamara or Mark Ingram right there. I mean, they've been playing extremely well. Let me see if I can pull up Kamara and Ingram's stats right now. But like even with Michael Thomas, he's been getting a lot of targets, and he finally got his first touchdown after, what was it, about 7 weeks. So, I mean, he's finally playing well, doing well. But, yeah, let's go look at these stats right here for Kamara. Let me see if I can pull him up real quick. Kamara, and I'm going off of ESPN fantasy stats right here. I'm sure they're all the same. This is a PPR league. Against Carolina last week, 28 points. Against the Rams the week before, 36 points. Against the Washington Redskins, 23 points. Against the Buffalo Bills, 23.5 points. Against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 29 points. Against the Chicago Bears, 15 points. Almost 16 right there. Against the Green Bay Packers, 14 points. Against the Detroit Lions, 11 points. Against the Miami Dolphins, 21 points. Against Carolina, 11.9 points. And against New England at week 2, and he really wasn't being thought of too much or anything like that, he had 7 points still. And against Minnesota in that first week, he had 6 points. So Kamara pretty much all season has been a steady option in fantasy football. I mean, you can't go wrong starting the guy. He's been playing extremely well. He's good out the backfield receiving, and he's good running the ball also. So if you got him, I'd start him for sure. And let's see with Mark Ingram stats right here. He's actually ranked number 6 and at his position in all of ESPN fantasy. Before I even talk about him, let me see what Kamara is ranked at his position in ESPN. he's ranked number 3 right now. So, I mean, really good from the both of them. That's 2 top 10 running backs for fantasy from New Orleans, and they've never really been known to be a running the ball team. But Mark Ingram this past week against Carolina had 22.6 points. Against the Rams, didn't do too well, had 5.7. Against Washington, had 24. Against Buffalo, 33. Tampa Bay, 10. Chicago, 16.7. Against Green Bay, 21. Against Detroit, 30. Against Miami, 9.6. Against Carolina, 11. Against New England, 10. And against Minnesota, 10.2. So he's pretty much been playing well all season. You really can't knock him or anything like that. Like I said, he's been consistent. And the biggest thing with Mark Ingram that he hasn't been doing the seasons before, he's finally starting to receive the ball out the backfield and pretty much be a pass-catching back also, along with a bruiser back running it up the middle. So, yeah, they've been playing well. Let's look at Drew Brees. Tonight, I'd start Drew Brees too. I'd start pretty much Michael Thomas if you got him. I'd start Drew Brees. I'd start Ingram, and I'd start Kamara. I'm staying away from Ted Ginn Jr. and guys like that. I'm also for either of these teams on defense too. I'm not starting either of these teams' defenses. Matt Ryan is too smart to throw interceptions. I mean, he's not going to put up big number stats, but like I said, I mean, he's pretty much too smart to throw a pick out there. So, I mean, yeah, you might get a couple sacks or two, but it's really not worth it to start the Saints defense, especially during playoff time. But let's see, what else do we got? Even with Atlanta's defense too, I wouldn't start them. I think Kamara's going to have a good game. Same with Ingram, same with Thomas, and same with Drew Brees. So, yeah, either I wouldn't start. But let's look at Drew Brees right now on ESPN. He's ranked 12 out of all quarterbacks. Last week against Carolina, he only had 19 points against. Actually, this link's kind of weird in ESPN too that I'm playing into because the quarterback touchdowns are worth 6 points. So I'm going off of that right now with those points. So against Carolina, he had 19. In standard leagues, that'd be a lot less. 17.6 the week before. In standard leagues, obviously, that'd be a lot less. Against Washington, he had 28.6. The week before that, against Buffalo, 16. Then against Tampa Bay, 24.3. Then against Chicago, he had 14. Against Green Bay, 24.3. Against Detroit, 17.6. Against Miami, 25.3. Against Carolina, 31. Against New England, 27. And against Minnesota, week 1, 20. So, I mean, again, these quarterback touchdowns in this league are worth 6 points. So, I mean, his stats in your league might look a little bit different, at least his point totals. And Michael Thomas, going back to him, though, that guy pretty much, like I said, he was on like a 7-game streak with no touchdown. I have him on my team right here in this ESPN league. Right now, he's the 13th ranked receiver at his position in ESPN Fantasy. Last week, he had 15 points against Carolina. Against the Rams, he had 7.7. Against Washington, he had 12.1. Again, these are all PPR stats right here, too. Against Buffalo, 16.2. Against Tampa Bay, 10.5. Against Chicago, 11.2. Against Green Bay, 11.7. Against Detroit, 2.6. Against Miami, 18.9. Against Carolina, 18.2. Against New England, 11.4. And against Minnesota, 7. So, I mean, he'd probably be a top 3 receiver in fantasy football if he didn't go through that little 7 games? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 7 games without a touchdown. If he actually put up a couple of touchdowns in some of those games, not even every game because I know that's not really something you can expect, but if he put up some touchdowns in those games, he'd be top 3 for sure because he's getting enough targets in PPR leagues and he's getting enough yards too. So, I mean, if he was able to do that, he'd be a lot better, but what can you say? Hopefully he plays well tonight against Atlanta. I need him to do well. So, we'll see how it all plays out, but yeah, I mean, on Atlanta, pretty much I'd stay away from starting Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman. I'd start Julio Jones because you pretty much got no choice if you got him on your team. Chances are if you got Matt Ryan, if you got Matt Ryan, go ahead and start him. But if you got like a better option back there, like a better matchup for a quarterback, I'd start the other quarterback. And as far as the Saints goes, I'm starting Drew Brees, I'm starting Kamara, I'm starting Mark Ingram, and I'm starting Michael Thomas too. But that's going to be it for this segment. That's all I got to say for this Thursday night game. Next up, we're going to do who to start and who to sit for each position. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
right, and welcome back to the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. If you missed that last segment or need a quick reminder, we basically just talked about the Thursday night game between Atlanta and New Orleans and pretty much talked about who to start, who to sit in that game. And we're pretty much going to do who to start and who to sit by each position in this segment too. So we're going to start off with the quarterbacks. Starting off with Case Keenum. He's got a matchup against Carolina right now. If you got Case Keenum as your quarterback like I do, me in fantasy football, I really try to stay away from the quarterbacks when I'm doing my drafting and pretty much just try and stream them the whole time. But, I had Marcus Mariota, and he started off all right, but really hasn't done much this entire season, I guess. So, yeah, I got Case Keenum now, and if you got him, I'd start him too. He's been playing well. He's really not throwing any interceptions or like that. He's only ranked 15th at his position at the quarterback position in ESPN. But, like I said, he really doesn't throw interceptions or anything like that. Let's see, all season he's thrown 5 interceptions all season, so that's really not too bad. But let's see, if you got him, start him. Ben Roethlisberger against the Baltimore Ravens, I'm starting him too. Whenever you got Antonio Brown out there, whenever you got Antonio Brown out there and Le'Veon Bell, they're always going to help out Big Ben's stats. So if you got him, start him. Derek Carr, I'm starting him against Kansas City. They got a brutal secondary. They just gave up 38 points to Josh McCown and that terrible Jets offense. So yeah, if you got Derek Carr, start him. Let's see other quarterbacks to start. Phil Rivers, I'm starting him against the Washington Redskins. He's been playing well, lights out so far this season. And yeah, if you got him, start him. I'm sitting Goff against Philly right now. Philly's got a good defense, and Philly's going to be coming back even harder with that defense because they just gave up 24 points to Russell Wilson in Seattle on Sunday night. So I'm sitting Jared Goff this week. Let's see. Cam Newton against Minnesota. I'm sitting him too. I don't think he's going to do too much. As it is, he already doesn't throw for too many yards, and I don't think Minnesota's going to allow him to take off and run with the football like he usually tries to do. So, yeah, I'm sitting Cam Newton this week. Carson Wentz, I'm starting him against the LA Rams defense. Carson Wentz needs to play a whole lot better than he did last week, and I think he's going to do that. So, yeah, if you got Wentz, start him. Obviously, that's pretty much a must start. Let's see. Josh McCown, if you got him on your team, I'm benching him against the Denver Broncos. Denver's defense isn't that good as I thought they'd be. But Josh McCown's coming off a 3-touchdown performance. I don't think he's going to be able to replicate that again. So, yeah, if you got Josh McCown, I'd sit him. Let's see other quarterbacks. We got Matt Ryan against New Orleans. If you got I'm sitting Matt Ryan. I'm going to say that right now. If you got a better option other than Matt Ryan, start that other option because I really don't trust Matt Ryan this Thursday against New Orleans, so I'm sitting him. And let's see other quarterbacks we got going on. We got Kirk Cousins against the Chargers. I'm sitting Kirk Cousins against the Chargers this week, all right? The Chargers defense is no joke. They've been playing well, and pretty much Kirk Cousins, I really don't think he's going to do much. I don't like Jamison Crowder and Josh Dotson either on that team, so not really too much fantasy upside for Kirk Cousins in this game. As for Tom Brady in Miami, I'm starting him. Tom Brady always plays well against the fish. Always throws for about 4 touchdowns at least, 3 touchdowns. So, yeah, I'm starting Tom Brady against Miami. Let's see other quarterbacks. Who else we got? Russell Wilson against Jacksonville. I'm not starting him this week. Jacksonville's got the best defense in the league, and they've pretty much been doing whatever they want against whoever they want. So, yeah, if you got Russell Wilson, sit him. I don't trust him against Jacksonville, even though he is the number 1 quarterback in ESPN Fantasy. Let's see. Who else do we got? I'm not even going to talk about Ryan Fitzpatrick. That's a streaming option right there. Drew Brees against Atlanta. I'm starting him. I think Drew Brees is going to throw for about 2 touchdowns and at least 280 yards. So if you got him, start him. Excuse me, I had a cough right there. But let's see. What other quarterbacks are there? Alex Smith against Oakland. I'm starting. I don't trust Alex Smith at all, even against Oakland's brutal offense. But I'm going to go out on a limb here, go out of my comfort zone. I'm going to start Alex Smith against the Oakland defense. Don't trust him. The defense really don't trust Alex Smith either. But you really don't got no choice when you're going up against Oakland's defense to start or sit him. So yeah, I'm starting him. Sitting Andy Dalton against Chicago's defense. They got a real stingy defense and they're really quick to the ball too. So I'm not starting Dalton. Matt Stafford against Tampa Bay. If you got a better option, I'd go with the other option. Right now, Stafford's dealing with a hand injury, and it's not really too sure. It's not really known if he's going to be playing right now. He's questionable. So if you got a better option, go with that one. And Dak Prescott against the Giants, I'm sitting him. He's not a good fantasy quarterback right now. But let's go for streaming options against this week in playoffs if you need it. If you need it and you're in playoffs, good luck. But Jameis Winston against Detroit, I feel like that's a good streaming option right there. If you don't got him, he's available in my league. I'm not sure how many other leagues he's available in, but Jameis Winston really hasn't really been he hasn't been what we all expected in fantasy. But, yeah, we'll see how it all ends up for them. But let's see who else do we got going on here. Jimmy Garoppolo against Houston. That's a good streaming option right there. If I needed a quarterback, I'd go with Jimmy Garoppolo this week. I think last week he threw for 287 yards, did have an interception, but like I said, that Chicago Bears defense is no joke. Against Houston's defense, I think Jimmy G is going to go for around 2 touchdowns, probably going to throw for around 300 yards again. And interception or not, I still think he'll be fine. So yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo is a good streaming option right there. Let's head over to the running backs for starting and sitting. Jordan Howard, I'm starting him. Cincinnati, I know Jordan Howard really hasn't been doing too well these last few weeks, but Cincinnati gives up the most points to running backs. I think they've given up at least 20 fantasy points pretty much every game this season except for 2 of them, so start Jordan Howard if you got him. Dion Lewis against Miami, I'm starting him. He did well the last time they played against each other. Let me see if I can pull up his stats. Against Miami last time, he had 15 carries for 112 yards. And also had 1 catch. I'm not even going to say how many yards because it was only for 1 yard, so that's kind of embarrassing right there. But let's see. What else we got going on for running backs? Kenyon Drake against New England. This is tough because we're not in on my fantasy team, I got Dion Lewis and Jordan Howard starting right now. But my receivers are Michael Thomas, Antonio Brown, and in my flex, I got Josh Gordon. So if you got Kenyon Drake and you need to start a running back this week, I'd start Drake either way. I'm not going to start him because there's really not a spot for him on my team. But, yeah, if you got Drake, start him. Devontae Freeman, I'm sitting him. Don't trust him. Don't really trust Tevin Coleman either, so I'm going to cut right to it. Tevin Coleman, sit him. Samaje Perine, sitting him against the Chargers. Don't trust him either, especially against that defense. Christian McCaffrey against Minnesota, I'm sitting him. Minnesota's way too good of a defense right now. Theo Riddick, I'd start him against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's got one of the worst defenses in the league, so if you got Theo Riddick, I'm starting him. Rex Burkhead against Miami, I'm going to sit him this week. Just got a gut feeling he's not going to play too well against the Miami Dolphins. Alvin Kamara, I'm starting him against Atlanta. I'm starting him pretty much every week for the rest of the season. There's really no reason not to. LeGarrette Blount, I'm sitting him against the Rams defense. Don't trust LeGarrette Blount right now, and don't trust Jay Ajayi either. So I'm sitting Ajayi if you got him. Let's see, LaShawn McCoy, I'm starting him 1,000 times against Indianapolis. He's going to have a big game right there. Let's see, Joe Mixon against Chicago. I'd start, let me see if I can pull up some updates. Let's see. Yeah, Chicago actually gives up the 11 fewest points to running back, so I'm sitting Joe Mixon. Marlon Mack right there, that's a good streaming option. Let's see. Marshawn Lynch against Kansas City. I'm not sure how Kansas City does well against... either way, even if Kansas City plays well against running backs, I'm still going to start Marshawn Lynch. He's starting to get the ball a lot more, and he's starting to play a whole lot better. Carlos Hyde against Houston, I'm starting him. Don't really like Houston's defense. Orleans Darkwood versus Dallas, not going to start him. Really hasn't been doing too much. I know he got a touchdown last week, but I don't think he's going to do too much against Dallas this week. Let's see, who else do we got? Todd Gurley, obviously, that's a must start right there against Philly no matter what. Kareem Hunt against Oakland. I mean, he could break out for a good game because it's Oakland, but he really hasn't been getting the ball too much. So I'm going to sit Kareem Hunt this week. I don't trust him at all. Mark Ingram, I'm starting him against Atlanta. CJ Anderson against New York Jets, I'm going to sit him. Can't really trust Anderson right now. Let's see. Any other running backs we got? Bilal Powell against Denver, I'm sitting him. Le'Veon, obviously, I'm going to start him no matter who he's playing. He's playing Baltimore, though. To be more specific, Buck Allen, I'm sitting him. That's more of a streaming option right there if you need a running back this week in fantasy. Frank Gore against Buffalo, I'm going to sit him. Don't think he's going to do too much. Melvin Gordon against Washington, I'm going to start him. Think he's going to play well in this game. Alex Collins, I'm going to start him against Pittsburgh too right now. This Pittsburgh offense really hasn't been playing too well. They gave up 73 yards to Giovanni Bernard last week also. Tevin Coleman, I already said, don't start him, sit him. Let's see, DeMarco Murray, I'm sitting him for the rest of the season. Same with Jerick McKinnon, not for the rest of the season, but I'm going to sit him this week against Carolina. I think those Panthers linebackers are going to eat him up this week. Let's see, who else do we got? Let's see. Derrick Henry, I'm starting him against Arizona. Looking like he's finally taken over for that running back position. And let's see, one last set before we get into our streamers. Leonard Fournette against Jacksonville. I feel like you got to start Fournette always because he's one of the better running backs in the league. Abdullah against Tampa Bay. I said earlier, start Theo Riddick, start Abdullah too. I think they're going to do well. Let's see, Isaiah Crowell versus Green Bay. If you got him, I'd start him. Lamar Miller against San Francisco, that's a must start right there. Latavius Murray against Carolina, don't trust him right there. I'm sitting Latavius Murray. Let's see. Anyone else we got before we get into it? Duke Johnson Jr., that's a streaming option right there against Green Bay if you got him in a PPR league. But yeah, let's look at these fantasy running backs right now for streaming. See if we got anyone, that's worthy. Giovanni Bernard, that's a good streaming option right there against Chicago's defense. Joe Mixon might not play. I know I said sit Joe Mixon either way, but Giovanni Bernard's more of a versatile back. So if you got him, I'd start him. Matt Forte is a good streaming option this week. So is Kerwin Williams. He came in for Adrian Peterson last week because Peterson didn't play. So you might see Williams get a lot of the carries because pretty much Arizona season's pretty much over. But let's go for the wide receivers and starting and sitting. Michael Thomas, I'm starting him actually versus Atlanta, I'm starting Antonio Brown always, constantly. Josh Gordon, second week back, starting him against Green Bay. Think he's going to at least go for a touchdown in this game. Last week he had 11 targets, only 4 receptions for 85 yards, but he's going to play well this week. Start him for sure if you got him. Devontae Adams, I'm sitting him against Cleveland. Cleveland's pretty stingy on their secondary, so I'm not starting him this week. Let's see, as far as wide receiver goes, T.Y. Hill, and I'm starting him against Buffalo. Same with Fitzgerald against Tennessee. Let's see, Danny Amendola, I'm sitting him against Miami. That's more of a streaming option anyway. Let's go right here. Brandon Cooks against Miami. Not going to start him this week. Think he's not going to do well. Just a gut feeling right there. I mean, I know Gronk is out, so you know what? You might just have to start him. So yeah, go ahead and start Brandon Cooks. Start Mike Evans versus Detroit. I'm starting him. Cooper Kupp against Philly. I'm sitting him. And Robert Woods, that's more of a streaming option right there, but I'm not even sure if he's back from injury. Doug Baldwin against Jacksonville, that's a sit right there. I'm going to start Adam Thielen versus Carolina. I'm going to start Golden Tate versus Tampa Bay. I'm going to sit Corey Coleman versus Green Bay because I feel like, what's his name? Josh Gordon's going to get a lot of the ball a lot more. Like I said last week, he had already more targets than anyone on any receiver on Cleveland last week. Demaryius Thomas against the Jets, I'm sitting him. Don't trust their quarterback. DeAndre Hopkins versus San Francisco, I'm going to start him. Same with Stephon Diggs against Carolina. Let's see, Jeremy Maclin, that's a streaming option right there. Same with Emmanuel Sanders. Let's see who else we got. Julio Jones against New Orleans. I mean, you got to start him, but if it was up to me, I wouldn't. I think Marshawn Lattimore is going to shut him down if Lattimore plays. Marvin Jones Jr. versus Tampa Bay, I'm starting him. Let's see, who else do we got going on? Kenny Stills, that's a good streaming option right there. Kelvin Benjamin sitting him. He hasn't even done anything since he moved to Buffalo. Marquise Lee against Seattle, I'm starting him. Feel like he's going to... Rick Bortles is going to have to throw to someone. I feel like he's going to go to Marquise Lee a lot, so I'm starting Marquise Lee. Sitting Devin Funchess against Minnesota. He's not going to do anything, I promise you that. Sitting Nelson Aguilar versus the Rams. Ted Ginn Jr., I'm sitting him. That's a streaming option also. Obviously, Juju Smith-Schuster's suspended, so if you got him in your starting lineup and you didn't see that he's getting suspended, take him out. Let's see, we're going to do a couple more receivers right here. Keenan Allen, I'm starting him. Robbie Anderson against Denver. I'm going to start him. Think he's going to do enough and get a touchdown. And Des Bryant against the Giants. I'm starting him also. Let's see. AJ Green against Chicago. That's a must start. Mari Cooper. Don't trust him. Sit him. Michael Crabtree's going to be back this week against Kansas City. I'm starting him. Starting Tyreek Hill also against that defense. And Sterling Shepard. That's also a good streaming option right there. But let's move on to the tight ends. Jack Doyle against Buffalo. I'm starting him. Same with Evan Ingram versus Dallas. Greg Olsen sitting him against Minnesota. Let's see any other tight ends. Hunter Henry versus Washington, starting him. Travis Kelce, that's a must start every week right there. Who else do we got right here for tight ends before we end this show? So Julius Thomas against New England. I don't really trust Julius Thomas. It's more of a streaming option if you need a tight end. But if you have him on your team already and you have a different tight end, I'm sitting Julius Thomas. Starting Delaney Walker versus Arizona. Let's see who else we got for tight ends. We got Rob Gronkowski, obviously suspended. Take him out of your lineup if you got him out there. I'm going to start Cameron Brake against Detroit. Let's see. Jimmy Graham against Jacksonville. Don't trust anyone on Seattle's offense against Jacksonville. So I'm sitting him. I'm sitting Jared Cook. Guy's been pretty brutal this season. Let's see who else do we got. Charles Clay against Indianapolis. I'd start him. Nathan Peterman's going to be starting, I think, so he's going to need pretty much a security blanket. So he's going to be throwing to Charles Clay a lot. I'm starting Jason Witten versus the Giants. Gonna sit Kyle Rudolph versus Carolina. Those linebackers scare me against Kyle Rudolph right there. Let's see, who else do we got for tight ends? Vernon Davis against the Chargers. I'd start him right there. Kirk Cousins likes to look at him a lot. Zach Ertz, that's a must start no matter what. And David Njoku from Cleveland, I'd start him too. He's starting to heat up, especially against Green Bay. I think he's going to play well. Let's see, that might just wrap it up for tight ends right there, and that actually is. I'm going to go with 5 defense that are must starts this week, okay? So let's get into it right now. Let's see, my must-start defense. I'm going to go Minnesota versus Carolina. I think they're going to pick off Cam Newton quite a couple of times, and I think that they're going to get a couple of sacks too. So I'd start Minnesota's defense. Let's see, what other defense I'm going to start? I'm staying away from the Rams and Phillies defense this week. Let's see, Jacksonville's defense. You always got to start them no matter what, even if it's against Seattle. I think they're going to play well. Then you got I'm staying away from Houston's defense, staying away from Carolina's defense. New England's defense, not trusting them. Same with Pittsburgh's defense. There might not be too many good defenses to start this week with these matchups. But let's see. Arizona, sitting them. Cleveland against Green Bay. I mean, you could start Cleveland's defense against Green Bay. Their secondary plays well, and Brent Hundley's not a good quarterback. So, I mean, that's a couple of interceptions right there. It might be. But, yeah, so that's my third right there. Let's see. I'd go ahead and start Seattle's defense against Jacksonville right now because Blake Bortles is always prone to throw a couple interceptions. So I'm starting them. That's number 4. And let's see. Do we have any other defenses? Man, these defenses aren't looking too good this week. So you know what? I'm just going to go with Detroit against Tampa Bay. Jameis Winston really makes a lot of mistakes, so he's good for a couple of interception a game or at least a turnover. And I think Detroit should be able to get to the quarterback, so I don't think Tampa Bay really has all that good of a defense. So or offensive line. So we'll see how it all goes. As for kickers, I'll throw out 5 kickers you should start. Josh Elliott versus the Rams. Greg Zuerlein versus Philly. Will Lutz against Atlanta. Gostowski versus Miami. He has big games. And then for this last kicker, let's see. Let's go Robbie Gould versus Houston. That's going to be my wild card right there. If you got Robbie Gould, start him. But that's actually going to wrap it up for this segment, and it's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you missed that first segment, we did winners and losers, how we always do from Week 13. Then we talked about the Thursday night game, talked about fantasy football implications for there. And then we did who to start, who to sit for each position in this segment. So thanks for listening to this show. That's going to wrap it up. This is the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Tapia, and we'll talk to you next Thursday.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Fantasy Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.